5P, 5D, 5F, and 5 we don't know. Okay, I like that answer. All right, so how many electrons can go in S?
2.
How many can go in D? Or 5, sorry, 5P, I jumped one. And in D? And in F?
14.
And now, if you notice the pattern, these are all going up by how much?
4.
So how many is the 5 I don't know going to have? Now, if we add these together, what do we get? That's how we get 50. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, what's the shortcut I showed you? The shortcut is 2n squared. So 5 squared is 25, and then times 2 is 50. You can do it either way. It does not matter to me which method you use, as long as you recognize both methods work. Okay? All right, number 2. If L equals 3, what is N?
4.
Have you noticed the pattern for L and N yet?
No.
What, Destiny? Goes up by 1.
Because S is 0, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So that again, Jayla.
N will always be one number above L.
N is always 1 greater than L. How do we know that? Because S starts at what number?
0.
Wait.
Say it again. Annabelle's not there with us yet.
N will always be.
No, I got that. I thought you gave the answer 3.
No.
I heard 0.
No. No. S starts at 0, which is why N is always 1 greater than L. They can't be equal because S is always going to start at 0. All right? So, if you have an S sublevel, what are the M values?
0.
All right, so you got to know what number is assigned to S. We just talked about that a second ago. What did I just say S's number was?
0.
I said L was 0, so that means M is minus L to positive L. So in math class, what happens when you go from minus 0 to positive 0? It's what? It's just 0. It's just 0. M is 0.
But normally we would do that like -1, 0. Okay, I don't know.
Yep, but because L is 0, you don't have any place to go. All right, so if M is minus 2 to positive 2, all right, what's L going to be? Okay, you got a 2 and a 2, so that means L is 2. And what did we just say about N? It's 1 more. So what's N?
3.
What?
Y'all better say
No, it's not. I'm very surprised.
All right, now to answer, I think it was Cynthia's question a minute ago. Is PX, the X, important?
yes.
Just one drawing.
There are how many PX orbitals? P has 3, but when I say PX, that's PX, that's PY, that's PZ. So when I say PX, I'm talking about one picture. So how many electrons are in there? 2.
What?
So that's just 2.
There's just 2. All right. So in number 6, how many electrons can N equals 2 hold?
8.
That's correct.
How much?
8. Now, you can go back to doing it just like we did this one. If N equals 2, how many sublevels are there? There are 2 sublevels. What are their names? Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. We have 2S and 2P. 2 plus 6 is 8. Or you could have said 2N squared. 2N squared. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. All right, what's the shape of the D sublevel?
That is the only one I got. Wait, it's not 4 look?
It is 4 levels.
Okay,
Oh, what if I actually draw it? Is that okay?
is what? I'm gonna want the words. I'm just saying.
Oh, it's because you're right next to me.
You got one right?
You got one? Look at the victory there. That's good. You got one. All right. So, if we look at our homework, let's see if we can't increase our odds. D is 4 lobed.
F is flower.
Four low.
F is a flower.
All of their names, but the first letter starts except for F.
D.
All right, so we're looking at number 1.
F is flower.
What's the L value of the P sublevel? 1.
Yes.
Oh, right. Wait, what happened?
Nobody else cares. She doesn't even know where she's at. All right, how many orbitals are in the P sublevel? 5. All right, we're going to go
Homework.
Did you lose it?
See? Oh, that's right here. Let's check
Okay.
it. Right.
You got it. Roll number 3. How many electrons are in the px orbital?
2.
Good. How many electrons are allowed in the D sublevel?
10.
How many sublevels are there if n equals 3?
3.
Good. What are the names of the p orbitals?
P, S, Y,
Good. What's the L value of s?
0.
Good. If L equals 2, what are the M values?
-2, -1, 0, 1, 2.
Good. L equals 2, what's M?
3.
Good. You know the shortcut now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How many orbitals are there if n equals 2?
4.
4. All right. If n equals 2, how many sublevels are there?
32.
2. What are their names?
2S,
2s and 2p. How many orbitals could s have? How many pictures?
1,
How many in p?
3.
1 plus 3 is 4. That's how you get it.
Wait, what's the answer?
4.
It's 4.
4.
For 10 or 11?
10.
We're on 10.
Oh, okay.
10 is 4.
10 is 4. Okay, everybody good on how we got 4?
No.
If n equals 2, how many sublevels are there? S and the P. So how many pictures are in S? That's 1 orbital. How many pictures are in P? That's 3 orbitals. So 1 plus 3 is, that's how we get 4. Okay? So in number 11, how many electrons are there if n equals 4?
32.
Everybody go with 32? Got it. 32. You need me to explain? Okay. Name the 4 quantum numbers. And L, M, and S is fine, or principal, orbital, magnetic, and do we all know what they stand for?
No.
If I said which quantum number tells size today, you would say which one?
Principal.
Principal. If I say which one tells orientation in space, you would say
Magnetic.
magnetic.
Oh.
If I went with an easy one and said which one tells the spin of the electrons?
Yeah. Let's go with the easy one.
Okay, that was on the quiz on Tuesday. Several of you, you weren't by yourself. You make it sound like it's a scandal show.
I said direction.
You just took what's spinning. Alright, so number 13. How many orbitals are in n equals 3? 9. Are we okay with how?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the L value of D? 2. Which sublevel has a value of 1? P. What must N be if L equals 3?
4.
Good. Name the 4 sublevels.
S, P,
Good. How many electrons are there if N equals 5?
50.
50. What are the M values of P?
-1, 0.
Good. What are the M values of F?
-3.
Yeah, what's this?
Good. Basically, it's negative 3 to positive 3.
Okay.
All right. What are the values of spin?
Plus
Good. How many electrons are allowed in the F sublevel?
14.
Good. And what does N have to be if you go from -2 to 2?
3.
Question.
Can we examine the quiz?
The quiz is just like this.
Your
Quiz?
Yes.
We are ACT class. Quiz. I would recommend the same thing I told Sarah Lynn. Take and get your score before you hand me a card. You might surprise yourself. Why on earth would you exempt something like an 80?
Because
A lot of things are pretty good. You may not use that.
Oh my God, that is.
Alright.
That would make my life.
Y'all need to write in these things.
I literally don't know this stuff at all.
It's low enough. I didn't even get a
I know what to think.
What do you mean you don't know it?
Like, I can't remember this.
I'm just telling you, you're making it worse.
I'm right here on these birds. Just like I'm on these birds here. And that's just
Don't just hate these wags.
You let them.
I'm trying to get that 64. I'm not a No, I did not get score last quiz. So we're trying to get
Mom was walking ready.
I have confidence. Y'all can do this.
I'm trying to have
I have confidence. We got this.
It's been quite a while. Got 100 last year. I can't find.
Alright, you should not be home.
Well, you missed Karen.
I missed two?
Karen.
I thought I had 4 in that one.
You thought wrong.
No, I just can't count.
Ooh. Oh my God.
And any of them that ask a quantum number, you can give me symbol or name. I will take either. I am not picky.
It ain't even fair to you.
Really?
Right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Nope.
Can you tell me in our notes what order we did the pictures?
Same order the sub-levels are in. But if
Just one.
in the same order as the sub-levels. Do you need to adjust this one?
No.
That's why I told you. Don't give me a card.
Well, I think we'll put the other one.
Well, that one I can understand. I probably would have done that too. the way I described requirement definition. And see if it's the same. When you're done, just flip it over. That's how I can tell how I'm doing with people who are finished. I'm just asking how many, what number of them are. I didn't ask you how many. What number of them are? How many some of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all I asked.
Okay, you don't take a harvest. We need 87.5.
Huh? Yeah, you just have the number. I don't need you to label what the number is, just tell me the number.
Wait, I did a charge sheet as well.
Move your wallet, please. The picture.
Go ahead. I'll- You erase it? Yeah. I think I do.
What are we doing in year one?
We're going to color.
Today? Like with colored pencils?
We're part of it tomorrow and Monday.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting more.
Oh, no, you will, because we're going to read the periodic table and shorthand the table. You didn't think we were just going to color, did you?
I did.
I
No.
really needed it.
You will watch the video and catch up, I have no doubt.
Well, see, I could be taking that other quiz right now.
You could. Anybody still working? Looks like Faith is, but that's the only one I can tell. You want to take it today so you can color it every weekend? You're gonna watch the video?
Okay.
I might have another class to get essay.
Right after this, we go to my description. After this, we go to my description.
Well, you should let me sit back there and take the quiz.
It will not benefit you or your brain. And you can do it, it's waste your brain.
Miss Wall,
Why would people?
You say,
What did you think?
you can do it.
It's
a waste of
I had a grade on my benchmark in my math class when I got on.
yeah, we can
They're 80.
Alright, while Faith is finishing, pass your appendix in the front.
You should let me sit in the back while you explain demonstrations. I don't need them, I have an idea. You know.
I'm trying to.
You don't have to be argumentative about it.
I need that quiz and I'm at work. And then.
What lunch do you have?
Sir.
Just show up your lunch.
Oh.
You can do that.
Me.
Hand him my What's wrong with that?
She's gonna be gone.
Maybe I should separate you right now.
We are the biggest donor in this class, and we are right beside each other.
I need it. Hey.
Do we want to go to the answers?
Yes, hey, let's check it right now.
Which one is describe shape?
No, hey,
Do you have any idea how many people change answers when you do crap like that?
Only have a pin out.
No, absolutely not. A is bad practice, and B, some of you would help me fix cheat.
Oh,
Absolutely
yes,
not.
why not?
I know what.
But my friends cheat all the time.
She wants me to let y'all grade each other's papers.
Oh,
Right.
yes, I love that.
I would use a swear word on that one. No.
Yeah.
Hey. Wait, but for real, what are these words you
I wouldn't have done it before my daughter came home and told me how they do it in one of her AP classes at school. No. And I would have done that as a first year.
Was it really fun was down there? Drop notes for I feel like
We didn't change them.
you did that.
Yeah.
I rolled really hard. Hey, I was really smart.
No.
Zakiah,
Now, which one of those describe shape? Orbital. You could have written orbital or L. I'll take either one. How many electrons does the D sublevel hold? 10. How many orbitals does the S sublevel have? 1. Orbitals are pictures. All right. What's the shape of the D sublevel? Orlode. It was in the opening. You better have got it.
I think I did. I did.
All right. How many electrons does
You count
A hold?
Please tell me you count double.
All right. How many orientations does that have?
7.
No, on the real, will you count double lobe? I think that's what I put. I drew it. I drew
You
it.
have a double lobe.
I drew it. I may have put 4, but I may have put double.
You drew 4 lobes, and then I may if you drew it. Only because at this point, I feel really bad. If L equals 3, what's N? Or sorry, if L equals 2, what's N?
3.
3.
Yay!
How many sublevels if N equals 5?
5.
5.
That one almost got me.
I know.
I think I
I don't know how many of y'all were writing down the sublevels names, and I just want to know 5.
put 2.
For the B sublevel, what are the M values?
-1, 0, -1.
I mean, positive and negative.
There you go.
Dang.
And which quantum number tells orientation of space?
Oh yeah, I got 30 at least.
There you go, Annabelle. Woo!
Wait, you like write mine really quick? Go ahead.
I think I got one.
They just want to hurt it. I think I'll be doing it. Maybe I'll be doing it.
I need my property and I need that's my it's actually Joyce's mom. Oh, so bad. You did not hear. Did anybody get 4 right? I got 4 right. I got 4 right. You actually got 4 right.
What type of grade is this?
This one, the one that's really good, I was the one that actually did it. Like, I got it wrong. Me too. I was looking at that. On my list, I was saying,
Miss Wall, why did you say I was AS? I won that answer.
Did you have trouble erasing it?
Yes, I did those 4 times I got it.
Probably could. All right. The 3 most missed on the test are those 3. Number 2 was from the first test we took. Y'all still got it wrong.
yeah, I did.
I got that one.
I got it wrong. I got it right.
All right, let me see.
Oh, dang, I got it wrong. It's number 4.
The first one I think is number 4. 19% of us got that right.
Number what?
Yeah, number 1 there, 19%. That was the worst. That was the worst of the 3. All right, the nucleus is the key to the question. So for those of us who want to do corrections, those of us who don't, let's talk about what it is. All right, if the question says the nucleus. All right, what do we know about the nucleus? What parts are the nucleus?
The proton and the neutron.
Yeah, so if it's the protons, there are how many protons?
8.
8 protons. It doesn't even matter about the neutrons, but let's just say there are 8. So the 8 neutrons are neutral. So what charge would it have?
Well, I didn't know what that meant.
I thought like all
This one.
That's why y'all picked A, but they're not because we're talking about the nucleus. We're talking about the nucleus. Okay? If you didn't have nucleus of the question, you could have put 0. The charge on the atom is normally 0, which is why y'all pick that. But because it says nucleus, you're looking at the protons and the neutrons. The protons are 8. The neutrons, let's just say that it's 16, would be 8. So the neutrons are neutral. They don't count. So you have 8 protons, which is why it's C. Okay? Now, number 2. What?
Like, why would it be 8 if I thought like nucleus had just a neutral charge?
The nucleus is not neutral. The overall atom would be neutral if you have 8 protons and 8 electrons. But we're talking about the nucleus itself. The nucleus has a positive charge. The electron cloud has a negative charge. But I said in the question, the charge on the nucleus. So we're only talking about the nucleus. Yes. No. No. You're talking about just the charge on the protons and the neutrons. So the protons have a charge of +8 on the protons. The neutrons are neutral. They have no charge. So it doesn't matter how many of those you have because they don't exert a charge at all. They're neutral. So if you just have a positive charge of something that has no charge, the only thing that's exerting a charge is a positive. So you have nothing to cancel out the positive charge. So the positive is the charge that you're left with. Okay? That's why it's a positive charge.
Number 25 literally made me so mad.
Yeah, I did it 2 different ways and I still got it wrong.
Which one? Is this 25?
Yeah, math off the periodic table or use the math and that.
No, none of it equals that. Right, I rounded it. Let's do it.
You get 0.9.
Right. That's what I got. Exactly. I got 0.9.
It's the same question y'all argued about when we did the first test.
0.91, not 0.87.
Exactly, it's
I'm not changing it. I'm not changing it.
No, I can't look at it. That was too close. It's too close together.
Stop whining. It's the same question.
Wow.
This one must be 27 because 41% of us got this one right. What do you remember about cubed units?
Yeah, you have to like.
Yeah, you got to cube the number.
I didn't know which way to go. So I'm sorry.
Meters cubed to centimeters cubed, 100. Cube them both. So the answer is D.
When you do the King Henry
It's a million
thing,
times
which way do you go with decimal point?
I'm gonna put .001.
I don't know. That's what I don't do with the left and the right because I can never remember if it's left or right.
Well, then how'd you know what?
King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So 1, 2, there's 2 spaces. 1 always goes to the biggest unit. Meter's bigger.
I know, but how are you supposed to know where the decimal goes?
And what?
In the 100.
I don't have to worry about that. If I put the 1 next to the biggest unit, 2 spaces means I have 1 with 2 zeros. I don't have to move a decimal.
For every space you do, it's okay.
It's okay.
All right, I still got it right.
Okay. I was gonna say that's why I like this because I don't have to figure out if I'm going left or if I'm going right. What? No, this is a test grade.
What?
It's a test grade. Now, those who are talking, stop. If you would like to do test corrections, you have a very narrow window. The end of the quarter is next week. Okay? I have to post grades next week. I have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's it. Okay? That's it. So if you can't be here Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, you're sort of out of luck. Okay? I can't work with you.
I'm making it.
So, if you want to do them, fine. Now, I said this to Raquel, and I don't mean any offense by this, but it's sort of like checking homework. If you have a 98, truthfully, and I'm going to pick on Cecilia, if you have an 89, it's not really worth your time to come to try to get a 94. Now, if you want to do it, knock yourself out. I'll be glad to let you do test correction if you can. You are probably looking at most a 1-point bump. Yeah, a 1-point bump in your average.
That can make
But if you want to do it,
I'm still gonna do it.
if you want to do it, knock yourself out. I will be here. There are no restrictions on who can and cannot do test correction. Now, it is an utter waste of time for the 2 people who got 98s. Okay? You will see absolutely no bump in your
You
average
don't know that.
from a 98 to a 99. Yes, it is. Mathematically, it will not move your grade. Okay? Yes, I do. I've done this long enough. Now, if you wish to do them, those are the 3 opportunities you have. Because I need Wednesday night to grade them, to get them in the computer on Thursday, because Friday we post.
And how many
Okay.
points do you get that?
You get half,
So I'm gonna give it 74.
So say I miss
assuming they're all up to my
6
standard.
times 2 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6.
Now, if all you do is come in and write down junk, you don't get your points
No,
back.
last time I got all of them right, or did them right. So if you just
Now, in terms of makeup work, everything that was on that printed progress report that I handed out last Friday must be made up by when?
tomorrow.
Today.
Yeah.
Okay? If it was on that printed progress report, I need it by today. The only things that roll into next week are the things we did this week, if it's missing. Okay? Which are very few items. Yes? Okay? It will be -10.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Can I please get these points back?
yes, I will check the original bubble sheet, and those will not be counted against you. But in the future, if you erase like that, you need to make sure you have me put white out on that spot, because a lot of times the phone can't tell if you erased or not. So make sure I put white on there. All right, if you will, let me have those back, because we need to move on.
All right.
What lunch do you have? Today?
Me too.
You don't know what lunch I have? Take it. Doesn't really work with what I have today, but
That's how I ended up breaking out, but I literally have done like extra credit that I've done.
maybe I will go to lab during
Still
summer.
have one of the lowest. Just literally a dumb.
Oh, and that's what it is?
Just
She said, don't worry about it. Yes.
You know me that journal?
Come here in a second, let's see if I'm doing my lab. Yeah, I know how hard you work in fashion.
I know, right? So hard. I be cheating there. I got a 90 on the project now.
Fabulous. All right, if you guys will,
No.
find your notes.
No. It's well, we really need a break.
Nope, no breaks for y'all. You're also going to need a periodic table today.
Or maybe I just start stuff that when it was not like smart.
All right, so what would it have been? Tuesday. We talked about the 3 rules that we were going to need to learn to draw, and these are still called electron configurations. For those of you who need titles.
Are you good at that? Yes.
All right. So we talked about Aufbau, and the Aufbau principle said that electrons have to fill the lowest energy level possible. So I gave you an example of a motel. If we go to the beach, there's Annabelle's off to that tomorrow.
Hey,
If we go to a motel,
does this have anything to do with 3 rules?
yes. Didn't I just say that?
What 3 rules? Getting my pins?
You wrote on Tuesday when you were not.
And you couldn't listen while you're getting pens?
No. Oh,
So the 3 rules where you're picking up your notes. Mr. Aufbau said that electrons fill the lowest energy level possible.
Oh, yeah.
So if we go to a hotel,
Was he right?
yes, he's right. Aufbau says, in order to get a room on the 2nd floor, you got to fill the 1st floor.
Right.
So
Yes.
up and down there. So in order to get a room on the 3rd floor, all of the rooms on the 1st and the 2nd floor must be what? Filled. All right. Hund's rule, I described as having a 3-bedroom house. Everybody has their own room, and suddenly mom and dad had another baby, and what has to happen? You gotta share, okay? So somebody has to pair up, and so we're going to describe the electrons as everybody has their own room, and then suddenly somebody has to share. Now, the Pauli exclusion principle said there are 118 elements on the chart.
Really?
Yes. Theoretically, for homework tonight, I could ask you to draw how many different electron configurations? 118. No, I'm not going to ask you to do that. It would be stupid. All right? So,
Right.
we learned how to label N, L, M, and S, which is the address of the electrons. So, all 118 elements have a different address. It may only be by spin. It might only be by M, but somewhere in the N, L, M, and S, one number has to be different. You guys all have a different address. Even if you live on the same road, what has to be different?
The house number.
The house number.
Hey,
Something has to be different.
wait, do they have their?
What?
Do they each have like a specific address? Like all of them?
Yes,
They do have the same
they all have a specific address.
Okay.
Okay? Now, to start this, we're going to learn how to draw orbital notations, which are the most detailed. Okay? Moving on. Moving on. Orbital notations are representations that show where each electron is found in the orbital. Now, this one is the biggest pain to draw because it shows each electron. As we go through, and we should get to electron configurations today, you'll find that we're not going to show every single electron, so you'll like those better because it's a lot less work. Tomorrow, when we get to dot diagrams, we're only going to show outer shell electrons. That will have even less, okay?
Hey, with your class filmings, are you like live?
All the time.
So like, if I watch it tomorrow at 10, can I comment and like say, hey guys?
You can, but I won't hear it.
And then FaceTime Joyce.
Fabulous.
You're gonna
She'll be thrilled. Now, in order to do this, though, all right, first of all, I'm going to make a couple notes here so you know what this is. All right? This is the one that uses the arrows. Because on a quiz, y'all are going to ask me, Miss Wall, is this the one that uses the arrows? And I'm going to say what?
Yes.
No,
I don't know. The answer, what did you say today? You said, I do not recall. Like,
There you go.
just say yes or no. Right.
I'm not going to give you yes or no. I'm going to tell you I don't remember. I don't recall. I'm not going to answer the question. All right? You have to know this. So it uses arrows. All right? Now, in order for us to do this, there's going to be what's called orbital overlap. Okay? The energy levels will increase in size and overlap onto each other. Now, because this is going to happen, we will use a chart to read the overlap order.
Is that what
Okay.
the electron cloud?
The electron cloud, remember, these are areas of probability, so they're not actual rings, okay? And I can't draw it because I can't draw in 3D, okay? But what happens is, like, the second energy level and the first energy level are pretty small, so they don't overlap. But once you get into the third and fourth energy level, they get so big, the third and fourth energy levels start to overlap. But the fifth and the sixth energy levels are gigantic. And so they begin to overlap on top of each other and even some of the fourth energy level. So we have a chart that we can read that tells us the order in which the energy levels and the sublevels fall in the atom. Okay? Now, you can use this chart all the time. There's just a little bit of catch. You have to be able to draw it.
Oh, God.
Show us how to draw.
I'm going to.
Wait,
It's
this
not
one is
hard.
like micro.
Oh, wait, we're just drawing a chart?
Oh, I thought you meant like
Just
a
like-
picture. This is like micro gigantic.
No.
Like in the small little things that you see is big on that side, but it's not really big in real life.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so can I turn the page?
Yes.
Okay. Now, to draw the chart, okay, this is just the order of orbital overlap.
Just like.
Okay? That's the title. If you want a title, I knew you were going to ask, so I gave it one. Okay, it's the order of orbital overlap. It doesn't matter what color you give it. Now, the first column, number 1 through 7. 7. Is that a problem? Just 1 through 7. What's the first sublevel's name? So 1 through 7 are all going to have S's beside it. Now, I will warn you, this works much better on line notebook paper than it does up here on the board for me.
We just keep going.
All right, the second line or column starts at 2. And we number 2 through 7. All right, so I started and I did 2 through 7. What is the second sublevel? So I'm going to put P next to all of these. All right.
And then you go to 3.
The third column starts at what, Nakaya?
3.
And I'm going to number 3 through 7.
And that's
And-
D.
Very good. All right, and the last column starts at what?
4.
And I'm going to put what?
4, 5, 6.
And I'm going to put F's. All right. So 1 through 7, and I put S's. 2 through 7, and I put P's. 3 through 7, and I put D's. And 4 through 7, and I put F's. Everybody good with that?
No.
Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, I get it. Oh, because S only has 1, and then the sublevel, the 2 has 2, and then 3 has 3, and then, yeah.
That's correct.
You and I know that.
I don't understand.
While we were doing it.
So why are we doing it?
Be proud. Oh, I know. So we have to.
Because 3P doesn't exist, so you can't have a 3P. So you don't start at 3P. Do you understand what Linda said?
No.
Remember what I asked you, can such and such exist?
No.
One,
1P.
you can't have a 1P because,
Oh.
Right. We get you. We get you.
are you with me?
Yep.
Because the second sublevel can't exist there.
Why couldn't there be a 1P?
No.
Because
Wait.
because of the first energy level, you can have how many sublevels? 1, and its name is what? 1S. You can't have a 1P. You can only have 1S because there's one sublevel at the first energy level, and its name is S, not P. All right, here's the hard part. The arrows are read diagonally. Let me draw before you draw.
Oh, I see.
Yes, sis, you have to explain.
So what's the point?
I told you, it's much easier to do on line notebook paper. I'm telling you.
Just 4F.
Hold on.
5, 6.
I'm surprised they have a line notebook.
What are you doing? I saw it on Wally. Why are you looking at the periodic table?
Oh, like hell.
I'm good. No, I was just counting. Yeah, I'm good.
Can we draw? You can draw now.
Hold on. I need one I can look at and look for at the same time.
The cards. I like
So if you don't, supplement me.
Yeah, I'm good. You can draw.
Wait, that's right.
Yeah. I just wanted to double check.
Oh wait, I drove. I'm going.
Yeah, I wouldn't laugh.
Look.
I don't even think. Well, these people come help me, please.
Imagine going that.
The key is to make sure you keep the spacing even when you're doing it. And it's much easier to do it on line notebook paper than it is to do it on something like this.
You're right.
So if you keep the spacing even, it's easier to draw the diagonal. All right, do we have our lines drawn in?
No.
Come on, hurry up.
That's why this is difficult. Already got stuff. Please come help me. I did it. Please come.
You're really not going to class tomorrow. I'm getting a break.
There's a lot of we gotta tell them.
I say that all the time, but I'm really not.
I mean,
Yours just looking up. Alright. So how do we read this? You read down the diagonal. So from the top, 1S. When you get to the bottom of that arrow, you go to the top of the next one. And you go down and it's 2S. Now, those two are pretty easy. Up to the top and you read down the diagonal. So 2P, 3S. Back to the top, 3P, 4S. So far, everything's been in order. But notice what happens after 4S. What comes next? 3D. We're starting to see overlap. Okay? So 4S is lower in energy than 3D because this is the nucleus. We have 1S, 2S, 2P, 3S, 3P, 4S. And what comes after 4S? 3D. Then 4P. Then 5S. What comes next? 4D, 5P, 6S. And what comes next? 4F. We're reading the order in which things sit between the nucleus and the rings.
So the further away.
The further away, the more energy it has. Remember, that was in Bohr's theory.
So 4F has more energy than 5P.
Yes, because it's further away. Okay?
The further, the more energy.
The further away, the more energy it has. You have that earlier in your notes, but if you want to write it again, go ahead.
That's how it is on every one of the rings too. It's like 3D has more than 4P. That's it.
So this is the middle of the ring. All of these are around like that.
Yes. Okay, they'd be in three-dimensional. They wouldn't be flat like I just drew them.
Let's see.
So you said
It's small. You're so small.
All right, so if we look at, let's do an easy one. Let's do nitrogen. That's nice and short. That's a good one to start with. Okay?
All these have like specific.
Oh, yeah. Yep. All 118. So, you got a periodic table?
Yeah.
Tell me how many electrons we're going to draw for nitrogen. Starting easy.
11.
What?
7.
28.
Wait, 7?
7.
Wait, that is?
That was only my internal conversation. I could have that all day long.
Wait, what?
How old people need to
Okay, you're going to need to borrow one from me when we take a quiz or a test. Okay,
I don't know
so
what it is.
how did we get 7 to those people who did not have 7 in their heads?
Protons and electrons are the same.
Protons and electrons are the same, and it was the atomic number. Everybody's good with the atomic number, right? Okay, so we're going to need 7. So when we look up nitrogen, we got 7.
-7?
That's just a hyphen.
Oh, no, I write that down.
All right, so first thing in the chart is 1S.
Wait, what is that?
Okay, I'm just going to make some notes here.
Go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
Okay, this stands for N. This stands for L. So what did N tell us? Ah,
Energy level. And so,
that tells us the energy level. We know the size is pretty small because it's the first energy level. N stands for the energy level. L stands for the what? Tells us the sublevel. And we know its shape would be sphere. Okay, now the next quantum number would be the magnetic quantum number or the number of orbitals, right? So the S sublevel could have how many orbitals? So we're going to draw one line above 1S.
What?
Because it's allowed one orbital.
So
what if you had two? You draw two lines?
Does anybody have two orbitals?
No.
Then nobody will have two lines.
What if you had three?
Okay, we'll get there in just a second. Now, can 7 electrons fit in one orbital?
Two.
How many can go in an orbital?
Two.
So I'm going to be able to put 2 electrons there. I need how many?
That made up
7. So back to our chart. What comes after 1s?
2s.
So I'm going to write 2s. We're writing in orbital notation.
I hate this.
We're not done yet. You will not hate this by the time we finish. Now, N again stands for the energy level. So we know this is a 2. So is it bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
It's bigger. It's still an S sublevel. So how many orbital lines am I drawing above it?
Still one.
It's still 1 because it's still an S. Now, from there, how many electrons can I put in an S? 2. So I can put 2 here and 2 here. That's how many? Still only 4. I need how many? 7. I'm not getting it. So back to my chart. What comes after 2s? 2p. All right. So 2p. Now, how many orbitals can I draw for 2p? So I'm drawing 3 lines this time.
Oh, that's a cross.
Right, I thought it was like, oh,
Yeah.
No, but we draw them side by side.
Yeah. So where's the second one?
Where's the second what for 2? Okay, P has 3 orbitals, so I drew 3 lines. Now, each of those lines could have how many electrons? So I got enough space for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, I only need enough space for how many? I have enough space. Okay, now we're going to use the rules that y'all learned.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Alphabal said what?
What are you talking about?
Just be quiet and listen. Okay, I need, for most of you, if you will be quiet and listen for probably 5 minutes, I will answer 95% of your questions. Yes.
Can you do that one like just for 2 seconds? Because I know like, can you just redo what you just said for the 2p?
When you read the chart, 2p is next, right? How many orbitals or pictures does 2p have?
3.
So I drew 3 lines because the lines represent the orbitals or the pictures. So if I had a D, I would draw how many lines?
4.
How many lines or pictures does D have? D had how many pictures? 5, because S had 1, P had 3, and so D has 5. If I had F would have how many? 7. Okay? That's all we'll have is 1, 3, 5, or 7. Okay? Now, are we ready to put electrons in? Electrons are going to be arrows. Okay? Now, the rules we wrote down on Tuesday. Alphabal said they had to fill the lowest energy level possible. What's my lowest energy level? 1s, 2s, or 2p? 1s. The first one goes in, let's just say clockwise. According to our spin quantum number, we know they spin how? They plus or minus or in opposite directions. Is 1s full? How many can 1s hold? 2. Is it full? Alphabal said, you cannot go to the second floor until what happens? The first floor is full. Is it full? No. So a second electron must go in the first floor. They do not spin this way. They spin in opposite directions, so it's going to go down. Now, the first floor is full. Now the electron may go to the second floor and go to 2s. So 1 electron will go in 2s. The second electron in 2s has to decide, is 2s full or not before it can go to 2p? No, it's not. So the 4th electron must go in 2s to fill the 2s energy level before it can go to the next room. Okay? So we've placed 4 of our 7. We have 3 to go. All right, number 5 is going to go in 2p. Now, this is Hunn's rule. This is a 3-bedroom house. Child number 1 got his own room. All right? The 6th electron looks at those 3 rooms and says, share, take my own room. Share, take my own room. Which one does it want to do? It wants its own room. These are what we refer to as degenerate. That means they're equal energy. They're all the same. So, sort of like y'all, do they have to share a room if they don't have to? No. Now, sometimes your parents had more children than they had space for. And sometimes you have to do what? Share. But in this case, we have 6 electrons. Number 7 has to choose. Share with these 2 or take his own room. He's taking his own room. He's not going to share until he has to. Okay, so let's take oxygen for a second. All right? Let me do this. Make it a little bigger here for Caleb. All right, so let's take oxygen. Oxygen has 8 electrons. All right, now draw it back just like we had it. 1s, 2s, 2p. Because we have to know where the electrons are.
Is this going to be on the exam or just on
Oh, yes. No, this is all going to be on the exam. The only thing that we did that you might not see on the exam would be the M and L values.
I don't even know what that is. Wait.
Then don't worry about it.
Wait. No.
For the rest of you know what I'm talking about, those M and L values won't be on the exam.
The 0, 1, 2.
Yes.
0. No.
And the negative and the positive. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2.
Yeah.
That won't be on the exam.
I'm good at that, of course.
So why did we?
Honors class.
Y'all really going to ask me that again? Okay. Now, when you look at this, 8 electrons. We've placed 7. So the question becomes, does number 8 go in 2p? Or do I go back to the chart and get 3s to place there? Is 2p full? Then it has to go in 2p. So this is the oops yesterday. Sorry, mom and dad decided to expand the family. Somebody has to do what? Somebody has to share. So number 8 has to share. Now, convention is that we go back to the first line. We don't choose the second or third line. We go back to the first line and number 8 shares there. Okay? And again, when they share in an orbital, one is spinning clockwise, the other is spinning counterclockwise. Does that make sense? Okay, so in terms of our quantum numbers, since every quantum number is an address, this is N and tells the energy level. This is L and tells the sublevel. This is M and tells the orbital. And this is the electron and tells the spin. Okay? So it tells the address of every electron.
I thought you couldn't put 2 and 2.
Yeah, you can put 2 on a line, but no more than 2. Okay? But that's what these orbital notations represent.
Oh, it just depends on the number.
Depends on the number.
And does it have to just be like the first one?
Mm-hmm.
It can be any. You can put 2 in any of the 3.
Yes. Yes. And when you double up, we go back and start at the beginning of it. You could technically put this one at the end. We just don't. We start at the beginning and go across. Yes.
Why do we have 3 lines again?
Because the P sublevel has how many pictures?
All right.
3. And if you add a D, D has how many pictures?
All right.
So we draw 5 on a D. All right. Can we do another one?
Yeah.
Part of it.
We would like to sleep.
Why do you stop?
I'm just like, I have to sleep. I'm good on sleep right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we should go up there and do it.
So let's say we do something not terribly long here. Let's do, I don't know, silicon. We'll do longer ones here in a second. All right, silicon has 14 electrons. All right. We're never going to do hydrogen and helium, so stop asking for those. They're stupid. All right, so what's the first thing in the chart? So 1s. All right, we always start at the beginning. That's why we're coloring tomorrow at the end of class. We're going to learn how to shorten it. Okay? Because eventually even I will get sick of 1s. All right, next.
2s.
And next. 2p. All right, now, an S sublevel can have how many orbitals? So we draw one line. 2s can have how many orbitals? One line. 2p can have how many orbitals? 3. All right. So, how many electrons go on this line? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I knew somebody would do it. So, that's 10 electrons, and we need 14. Do we have enough?
No.
Back to the chart. What comes after 2p? How many can I put above it?
1.
Because it's still only an S. After 3s, we have what?
3p. Wait, why are we adding extra when we could have just doubled up on some of them?
Doubled up on what?
2p.
2p can only have how many lines?
3, but can't we put the up and down?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Okay, all right.
Okay? So, P can have how many lines?
3.
So, now we're at 12, 14, 16, 18. So, we've got enough space for 18 electrons. So, it's enough. All right, so where does the first electron go? The first one. And we do what with it? Up. The second one goes where? Down, because we have to fill 1s. All right, 1s is full. Where do I go next? Okay, so up, next. Now, on 2p, a lot of times people do this. They go up, down, up, down, up, down. Now, you can do that as long as you're forward thinking enough that you know 2p is full. But if you get in that bad habit, I'll show you what's going to happen. You get to 3s and you go up, down, and then you get here and you go up, down. And it's wrong. There, let me be clear, because people like Annabelle are going to get upset with me and cry next week. There is no, and I mean no, partial credit in dot diagrams, orbital notations, electron configurations, and shorthand. The next quiz we will not take until we've done all 4. Some of you will score between 100 and a 0. And yes, I have had people get zeros on this quiz. Okay? Between, it depends on when it falls. It may be the first quiz of the second quarter.
Lovely.
All right? This, if you draw it wrong, will sink you. Okay? Because you'll do them all wrong.
Okay.
If you draw your arrows wrong, you get them wrong. Okay? You've got to remember when you draw the arrows like this, they fill singularly before they pair up. Yes.
So, like, what I did was the 2p at the top, I put the, I did the first 2, and then for the last one, I put just the up arrow.
That's fine.
And then I filled up the 3s or whatever, and then did it like you.
That's fine. Okay? As long as it looks like this when it's done, I don't care if you fill that up, and then as long as this looks like that is cool. Okay? Yes. Do what? In this? Yes. You're going to have to be able to do that on your own. You cannot bring it already drawn in and yank it out for the quiz. You have to be able to draw it on the quiz freehand by yourself. Okay? Takira, did you ask a question? Shh. Because I have to have 14. This is 10. That's 12. That's 13. That's 14.
Oh, so you can't leave one blank?
Yes.
I wouldn't have went back.
Because we only want 14. So if I had aluminum, for example, aluminum would be 13. I'd have 2 on blank. Okay, that would be aluminum.
But you said what I did was
Let me see what you have.
Yeah,
Let me see. Maybe she's. No, you have because you have two minutes.
And I'm so happy.
Okay.
Like I've been doing one there. Like if I'm going to go see, no, if I'm going to go see somebody, not right now. Like I'm doing like every game.
What? No. All right. Let me answer this question for Chris. The rest of you be quiet. Now, Chris asked if we take one off the 2P and I put it here, is that okay? The answer is no, because why?
It's like the hotels.
2P has to be full before we can move on. So 2P is not obeying Aufbau. The level is not full. Okay? Does that make sense? You think you can try some? Yes.
So we place it down arrow, which is still up, the 1S, the 2S, the 2P, and the 3S.
Uh-huh.
When we're done, like filling them up, and we don't have like on
At
the
the same time.
3P, we wanted to put down arrows with those real guys, right?
Because there's only 2 to place in there. You wouldn't put any down arrows unless you had, let's say you went to like chlorine, okay? Chlorine has 17 electrons, so we're at 14, okay? So number 15 would go here, 16 would go here, and then 17 would go there.
Okay.
Okay, then I would need down arrows. But you wouldn't need down arrows on silicon because you just don't have enough electrons. Okay? Y'all ready to try some on your own?
Yeah.
All right. What time is it?
Can we just go to dot diagram?
No. Dot diagrams today? No, y'all are not ready for dot diagrams.
We're not ready for this either. Can I have some of your crackers?
No.
I don't even need to sleep. I just need to go home.
Right, I don't even need to leave. I just need to leave.
Let's do titanium and arsenic. Do those very quickly so we can go over those before we leave today.
I know, because I've done that. That's why I don't wait a minute. We're not getting for
What number is that? I mean, what's the number? See, it's titanium. Only 2. Make sure you're doing titanium and not thallium.
All day.
What's value?
Thallium's like in the 80s.
I got both y'all.
What is?
I know y'all went right now. I'm so pretty.
Huh? Okay, you're 18. Got nothing else for 18. Yeah, keep going, you're 18.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
With long, don't rush.
I gotta rush, we don't have a lot of time left.
22.
So what?
Yeah, we gotta go.
Where you gonna use that? Yep. Yep, and you place 4 and 22, so keep going.
Oh my
Got a ways to go yet.
A lot of work.
This one future. Can I do now? Can I do titanium on the board? Can I do titanium on the board?
Miss Wall,
Yes.
Hallie Jackson is leaving.
Okay.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Can I do it on the board?
Yes, that's right.
I don't think I am. I'm gonna do it on the board.
Let's go.
I'm gonna do titanium on the board.
Do it. You skip 4S. After 3P.
Plus.
Oh.
Y'all see that? You see that? Okay.
Are you on our team?
The one else.
I told you would be right. So you put you up there, you're wrong.
Yeah, you're right, then 4.
No. You skip 4S.
What?
It comes after 3P.
Oh, okay.
You do realize people in the back are not going to see that color.
Well, it's pretty.
Okay.
Oh my god.
3S. So after 3P, what comes next?
Like that.
Down here. 3P.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
We get it done. I'll be right there.
Yeah, but you need to read things order on T. The first two after 3P.
Now, for those of you who are getting titanium wrong, you are probably skipping and doing the exact same thing Annabelle just did.
Did I do it wrong?
Yep. You're off, but you can fix it. Just a second. Look at the board. Let me move Abu Fouchez over here. All right. After 3P, what comes after 3P? 4S.
Wow, why?
Read down the arrows. You do not go across. You read down the arrows. No, you're going to need that, so put it back. You need 4S right there.
Oh,
You're
S is
18.
one, S is one, S is one.
When y'all are skipping, that's 20. You're 20.
Ta-da!
No,
You did it wrong.
No, you're fine. Look at reading. You have 5 lines, 5 bedrooms, and what do you have the 2 electrons doing?
You have to spread it out in the middle.
You have them sharing. When you and Mary Lloyd want to share a room,
If you have that.
you have 5 bedrooms in the house this weekend?
Other way.
Yes.
Swap each other's
Yes.
right?
Yay.
Yes.
Who's not here? Who's gonna be watching this?
You have 1 too many. Oh, arsenic.
You could ask.
One too many.
Yeah. You got 40 or 36. 34 is what you have. Now, for those of you who did arsenic,
I did that so pretty.
yes, it does. Looks fabulous. You should end on 4P. A darker color.
Fabulous.
You should end on 4P.
It's time to go.
Like that. If you got that far and you got 4P with 3 single arrows, you probably have it right, just as a quick answer. Okay? Yes, it is. Now, for homework.
This one was what I put. You told me I got it wrong.
Oh, I thought you had an extra arrow on there. Did you mark it out?
Yeah, I marked it out.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell. All right. So for homework, y'all are drawing chromium, germanium, and leave a little space. We're going to use your homework answers tomorrow, plus the 2 you just did. So finish them if you didn't. To do electron configurations and orbital node or dot diagrams.
What was the other one that you
No,
did?
that's not it.
Titanium? She said, arsenic?
Cesium, cesium, polonium, and krypton. Those 5.
Can you track this homework, please?
We could actually record
Hey.
it.
Yes. So do your homework so she can take. Guess who I can be here?
I might check it because Annabelle's not going to be here. So I won't have to listen to her. If you have a calculator, put it up.
Did you give us arsenic?
What's this?
Oh, no.
I mean, it's only been a day. I leave my food out.
I've done anything good. It's just
Girl, I do that. My food has been left out for 3 days. Like, I ain't dead yet. I done had pizza that's full of meat left out for days. My cat done ate some. I ate the rest. I've known my cat for a long time, but I really care about her.
Oh, really?
Well, it beats -10 because you wrote in pencil. I said it beats a -10 because you wrote in pencil.